And then Kopiladev says that you want to know who is a sadhu? Sadhu's symptom is this, basically. Titiksha, Karunika, Suhidam, Sarvadehinam. And all the good qualities of demigod, sadhu, this is his ornament. And I find, if we find among our devotees, Dham, they stands out without doubt. Many devotees around the world, they all know this today. Janivas, Prabhu, and Panchajanghri. And so I don't know whether I can, I'm in a position to glorify them. But what coming in mind as I saw him, when I was shocked, hearing that Maharaj, his condition is very critical. Come. And I went there and I was shocked to see he was under ventilation. Not everybody is allowed to go to see him, but doctor allowed me. I went there and later I saw he left us. And the devotees went, I also. I was shocked. Still I can't forget. I can't think of how without him Mayapur still there. Because Prabhupada said that when he goes, you want to see these two boys, they are perfect example of promotion. So we have so much to learn in our devotees from them. For the timing, whatever is coming, I'm simply telling you spontaneously the points. And please, you glorify them. It is said, when you glorify the devotees, good qualities, thus he become free from contamination of material existence. And so, wishing this to all the devotees, so that you can learn their life and become good Vaishnava and go back to God. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. And may Lord bless all of us who glorify a good Vaishnava, like Pankajanghri. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for your wonderful nectar concerning Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. And on behalf of the World Headquarters of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, I, Radhapati Gopinath Das, extend a very warm welcome to all of you once again. Our apologies because there were few technical glitches before we could go live on Facebook and YouTube of Mayapur TV and of course the Mayapur TV channel. But by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we could relay Maharaj's nectarian glorification onto the Facebook page of Mayapur TV. Today there is going to be nectar one after another. We will be hearing from the doctor's team, including His Grace Harilila Prabhu, as well as Dr. Sukhi Achyuta, who treated Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu last year. And we will also be hearing from very close friends of Pankajanghri Prabhu, including Pancharatna Prabhu and many other God brothers who reside in Sridham Mayapur. So stay tuned with us till 9 p.m. There are too many speakers. I wouldn't take much time. May I now invite Her Grace Jalangi Mataji to please share her memories of His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu, and then we will invite the next speaker. Over to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Mataji is from China and she stays here though in Sridham Mayapur. Over to you, Jalangi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Now I cannot start my video. Please, can you possible to unmute me and allow me to start to share my. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to glorify His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. The first time I saw Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu was in 2000. too. The first time the devotees from Kashadesh came to Mayapur, and from him I got my first blessings. I would share some stories that we can see how gentle he is. The first time I was translating for his class, and the room was at the entrance of Grihastha area, and I saw there is a worm on his garland. So I was like a little scared, and I pointed out, "Hey, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there's a big worm on your garland." And then he said, no, it won't bite. And he very gently, he picked up the worm in his hand, and he walked outside of the room, and he put the worm gently in the garden, and he said, "Please go and play with your friends." And that time I was shocked. I never see in my life someone was so gentle. And during that class, also another thing happened. There's a lizard crawling and then finally coming to my thigh and stayed there. I was thinking I shouldn't disturb Prabhu's class, so I tolerated. But then somehow or other he noticed. So after the class, he asked me, "Are you afraid?" Actually, I'm biting my teeth. I'm not telling the truth, but I try to become peaceful. I said, "No, I'm not afraid." But he smiled and he took off his garland from his neck and gave me the garland, and he said, "May you get all the blessings from the whole disciplic succession." So that is the first blessing I got from him. And since then, whenever I ask him to give classes to Kashadesh devotees, he or Jananivas Prabhu, not one time they refused. And many times, some critical situations in Kashadesh, and they pray for us and solve the devotees' problems. And another time, that happened a few years back, also showing how gentle he was. I was doing some services for the Pujari department. So one day, my two hands are full of papers and money, and also I'm carrying my mobile. I need to give him a report. And because I'm holding too many things in my hand, and at one point, my mobile just fell off from my hand. Just at that moment, you see that happened too fast, and the mobile is touching the floor, but somehow or other it got hit on his lotus foot. So I immediately apologized. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, and my mobile hit your foot." And he said, "Actually, I did it on purpose. I don't want your mobile hit the floor, so maybe mash your mobile." My heart is also melt because I feel how gentle a pure devotee he is or he was. Even for saving my mobile, I couldn't realize the mobile was falling, but he realized that, and he immediately stretched out his foot to save my mobile, because I used that mobile for doing service. And sometimes I translate for the devotees, and I saw in so many occasions the devotees, they were crying, or she or he was crying, but then Prabhu would assure him or her saying, "We are always here for you." He refers to himself and Sripad Jananivas Prabhu. And when he was very, very sick, the devotees all over the world formed two groups, praying, and they're doing japa and doing tulasi parikrama for him. So I had a realization, because at the beginning of pandemic, I had a dream. I dreamed in Mangal Arti time, it was Yamaraj who was reporting to our Shushrada Madhava. Instead of reporting how many people died, how many people got infected, I dreamed Yamaraj was reporting to Shushrada Madhava, and he was saying how many yagyas devotees performed all over the world, and how many japathons, how many Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam classes are performed all over the world. So I shared with Pankajanghri Prabhu. That was at the beginning of the pandemic. And then when he was very sick, I remembered this again. I realized the whole world is in a very critical situation, and the whole life he was doing puja for the goodness of all the devotees. and even all the living entities in this whole world, and he is sacrificing his own life to perform his last puja, because we don't want to be separated from him. The devotees are like mad. I am also part of the team collecting japa reports. I know some devotees would chant extra daily 80 rounds for him. Some devotees would do 2,000 tulasi parikramas for him. And some devotees are crying and praying to Lord Nrsingadev, to Shri Radha Madhava, to Shri Panchatattva, that they want to use their own life to exchange for Pankajanghri Prabhu's life. So he did it. That is the last puja he did at the price of his own life. And also, not long before that, there is one devotee in Kachadesh who was very, very sick and who feels very, very painful due to her cancer condition. So I asked Pankajanghri Prabhu to say something, to bless her, to encourage her. And that time, Pankajanghri Prabhu said, when you got there, that means when she's going back to Godhead, he said, please boil the milk first, and very soon we will be joining you. At that moment, I was very much astonished by the way that he is, or he was, inspiring that devotee, but I never realized he really meant it. He was joining the devotees there in the spiritual world, and too soon for us. And the last Bhagavatam class he was giving is 10th Canto, chapter 22, verse 24 to 25. And also, the night before he was leaving his body, somewhere or other, like miraculously, I got a Zoom link. Whole night, I could join the medical team, and having his divine darshan and offering all my devotional services unto his lotus feet. And that night, His Holiness Japataka Swami Guru Maharaj was giving a class. His Chaitanya Lila class was talking about a verse. The last verse he mentioned is 10th Canto, chapter 33, verse 25. And considering this, both Mahatmas, their realizations they reviewed in their classes, and the contents of these verses, there's no doubt that Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu, he joined the eternal Lila of Krishna and the gopis, and from there, from a higher dimension, he is now showering his mercy upon us. Hare Krishna. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to glorify him. All glories to Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so very much. It is so lively in your memories. It's astounding to see that though an year has passed, but you continue to, in certain sense, live with Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. All glories to him and all glories to your devotion unto him. We have just been joined by His Grace Brajavilas Prabhu, one of the co-directors for Sridham Mayapur. So may I now request Sripad Brajavilas Prabhu to share his glorification for His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining. Over to you.
नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नित्य नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे अजानुलंबितो भुजौ कनकावदातो संकीर्तन के पितरो कमलाय दाक्षो विश्वम्बरो जजबरो युगधर्म फलो वंदे जगत प्रिय करो करुणावतारो 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 हरे कृष्णा. I was just speaking to Ambrish Prabhu today, and Ambrish Prabhu told me to convey to His Grace Jananivas Prabhu that he missed Pankajanghri Prabhu very dearly. And he also told me that we lost our greatest supporter and a hero of the Temple of Vedic Planetarium and Sridham Mayapur. Pankajanghri Prabhu, I say, remember, was one of the greatest supporter, was pushing us that let's open this temple for Sri Sri Radha Madhava, Sri Sri Panchatattva, Prahlad Narsinghadev, and Srila Prabhupada. In fact, he used to pray whenever I used to tell him that Prabhuji, we had come this far and there is a little bit bottleneck which is happening because of lack of money or because of various other reasons. He would immediately pray to Lord Narsinghadev to remove the obstacles so that the temple can progress and be completed on time for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. And every day he used to ask me, how is this problem? Is it gone? Narsinghadev will clear this problem. You go ahead. Such a confidence, such a support we had. And today, we don't have that kind of a support. Also, not only praying for obstacles, also when I tell them, Prabhuji, there is one big donor he is pledging and he is inspired to give to the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, he would start the prayers so that that can come successfully to the Temple of Vedic Planetarium without any obstacles. Many times he has prayed, not only for the TOEP, for the entire ISKCON society and for the entire world, he prayed to Lord Narsinghadev. This was his greatness. He was always prayed to Lord Narsinghadev. And he used to call Lord Narsinghadev Dr. Narsinghadev, and he was the head pujari of Narsinghadev. During his last days, I was talking to Pankajanghri Prabhu very regularly. So in one of our conversation, I told them, Prabhu, that you have to be there for 2024 opening. You have to be there. Please hold on. And that time he was supposed to come to Mayapur. So he was telling me that, do you think I'm coming to Mayapur to leave my body? No, I will stay. This was his answer. So we were very confident that he was coming to Mayapur to stay. But anyway, Krishna had other plans. He is with Prabhupada in some other planet preaching for Prabhupada. But it was a huge loss. Huge loss. At the same time, he has gone back. So there is sadness and there is happiness. But today specifically, the TOEP team, specifically from Chairman Ambarish Prabhu and all the members, are feeling that separation of such a great warrior, such a hero of Mayapur, His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. I remember I was traveling with Jananivas Prabhu for more than 5 years to raise funds for the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. And Jananivas Prabhu, in the tours, he would dearly miss his brother, And when Jananivas, many devotees in our tour used to ask Jananivas Prabhu about different programs, how to organize the programs, Pujari programs, especially. And he will tell me, please call Pankajanghri Prabhu. I wanted to tell him this, I wanted to tell him that. While he was in the tour in America and other places, he always used to remember Pankajanghri Prabhu and give him instruction. This program has to be done like this. This program has to be done like this. They would exchange very often how to keep the deity standards top priority and keep the standards very high, pleasing to Srila Prabhupada. I pray to Sri Sri Radha Madhava, Sri Sri Panchatattva, Sri Prahlad Narsinghadev, and Srila Prabhupada today, and also to His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu, that next year, 2023, by the blessings of Pankajanghri Prabhu, we wanted to open the Narsinghadev temple on his honor today on this auspicious day. We take a sankalpa and we pray to him to give us all the strength so that for his pleasure, we can open Lord Narsinghadev temple on 2023, by October 2023, we wanted to offer this temple in honor of him. Also, Ambarish Prabhu made it very clear that we have to open this in next year. And in honor of Pankajanghri Prabhu, that would be his service to Srila Prabhupada. So we are all working towards it. We are running a big campaign from Akshay Tritiya to Narsinghi Taturdasi, so that Pankajanghri Prabhu's wish to see the temple opened on time can be fulfilled. So with this, I thank everyone who is participating to glorify His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu and his services, particularly in Sridhar Mayapur. Whatever situation might be, whether it is flood, whether it is rain, whether it is storm, whether it is calamity, he was always there in Sridhar Mayapur. That is his greatness. So thank you all very much for coming and participating and glorifying His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Brajvilas Prabhu. And it's a great news to know that next year, on this very day, we will be, ready with the altar of Sri Sri Prahlad Narasimhadev. It's a wonderful news which you have shared. May I now invite His Grace Ananda Tirtha Prabhu to glorify His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. Thank you so much, Brajvilas Prabhu, once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ananda Tirtha Prabhu, over to you.
Thank you all. Am I audible?
You are audible.
So I'll be reading homage I wrote for Pankajanghri Prabhu. I started it last year itself and have just finished it.
Can we have your video turned on if it is all right with you?
Actually, Prabhu, my video is not working well.
Okay, no problem. Please continue.
So I'm just reading. The heart of any community is not its buildings, however grand, not even in Mayapur, despite the grandest building being raised before our eyes. Mayapur's heart is not limited to even just the deities, central though they are and worshipped and loved by all. The real beating heart is the residents, most especially those who have dedicated their lives to serving Srila Prabhupada, the Dham, the deities, and the devotees. And for so many of us, His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu was half of that heart of Mayapur, and Jananivas Prabhu the other half. They have been a constant presence for 50 years, more than the entire lifetimes of most residents. Daily, we would see Pankajanghri Prabhu worshipping Lord Nrsingadev without fail. Daily, he attended Bhagavatam class without fail. We would see him strolling in the evenings, chanting japa, chatter rippling in the breeze. Without fail, he would acknowledge me riding by, with a twinkle in his eye, a boyish smile, and a nod that belied his age. How many times did I climb the steps up to the Prabhu's room to honor breakfast with him, to drink water, or just to hang out? What fortune I had, and how I will miss those moments. Even after changing ashrams, I would still go, later with my son, and more recently still with my daughter. How much fun the brothers had joking around and playing with them. And they had similar multi-generational relationships throughout our community. But Pankajanghri Prabhu was not just the property of Mayapur residents. All over the world, devotees everywhere would approach him to offer prayers on their behalf. Prayers for health, prayers for relatives, material prayers, spiritual prayers, whatever. And without fail, Prabhu would play to Lord Nrsingadev for them. In this way, the entire ISKCON family felt a close connection with him as the via medium to Lord Nrsingadev. When Prabhu fell ill, I remarked to a senior Mataji, if Nrsingadev's Pujari doesn't get protection, then what hope is there for anyone? But now we see the Lord's will is final and Prabhu is with us no more. Even Srila Prabhupada noted how dedicated and exceptional the brothers were. In fact, their life perfectly encapsulates the mission of Srila Prabhupada. The two Westerners with no obvious sukriti left their homeland and family and surrendered on his instructions to serving Sri Sri Radha Madhav in a small village in rural India without ever taking a backward step. How proud Srila Prabhupada must be seeing this 50 years later. Not only that, but the Prabhus are also actively training the next generations of Pujaris via Mayapur Academy. I feel so fortunate to be able to assist them there in their mission to Srila Prabhupada. In the first memorial service, we heard Jananivas Prabhu describe their upbringing, how their alcoholic father squandered the family money and basically abandoned them. Their mother alone had to raise 10 children during and after the Second World War, a time of great strife and poverty in England. The twins were even sent away to live at a nunnery at the age of 5 and were referred to as the terrible twins. From this difficult background, they both found shelter at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada and Sridham Mayapur. Srila Prabhupada initiated Roy Worthington as Pankajanghri Das, the servant of the Lord who possesses lotus feet. Pankaja literally means born of mud, as a lotus flower blooms in muddy pools. How apt a name it was, for Pankajanghri Prabhu emerged from a humble background and blossomed into a beautiful lotus that took shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Nrsingadev. Many devotees have compared Jananivas and Pankajanghri Prabhus to Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis. This is an apt comparison in many ways. Each set of brothers took the order of the spiritual master as their life and soul and executed it for the rest of their lives in the holy Dham. Though both equally elevated, one brother was apparently senior to the other. We read in Bhakti Ratnakar about how the Vrajavasis would flock to Rupa and Sanatan, and how the two Goswamis would reciprocate with great affection, inquiring about their welfare, their livelihood, their children. Similarly, the Mayapurvasis see Jananivas and Pankajanghri Prabhus as our life and soul. No function, ceremony, or parikrama was complete without an invitation to the now transcendental twins, and seldom did they turn down such invites. Their unassuming and approachable nature is legend in Mayapur, and for the community of devotees, that was perhaps their most enduring quality. That's why they are loved by everyone, young, old, junior, senior, male, female, local or foreigner, another Goswami-like quality. We also read in Shastra about the heart-wrenching feelings of separation that Goswamis and other associates of Lord Chaitanya felt after he wound up his external pastimes. I will smash my head against the rock and enter into fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? In our times, the disciples of Srila Prabhupada remind us every year of their feelings of separation from him. Now, as relentless time moves on, more and more of Srila Prabhupada's disciples are leaving us bereft of their association. The decade of tears is upon us in earnest. Samadhis are increasing. Service and separation is becoming the norm. For us in Mayapur, Pankajanghri Prabhu's passing is the strongest reminder of this. He was ours, one of us, a permanent, inseparable pillar of the community. Pujari, friend, uncle, brother, father, grandfather, and more. The void his absence creates will never be filled. Today marks the first anniversary of his departure. Although a year has passed, our sense of loss still feels fresh. Rather than feeling paralyzed by grief, let us dry our tears while remembering his dedication to the mission of Srila Prabhupada and his service to Mayapur Dham. Then let us honor his memory by rededicating ourselves to serving that same mission. For myself, that is by continuing to assist Jananiras Prabhu via Mayapur Academy. Srila Prabhupada had 3 places that occupied his heart and represented his service to his spiritual master. Vrindavan, his home, Bombay, his office, and Mayapur, his place of worship. Mayapur's worship was part of his heart, and Pankajanghri and Jananiras Prabhus were and are the manifestation of that part of Srila Prabhupada's heart. They are also a part of ours and will forever be so. Pankajanghri Prabhu ki jai, Jananiras Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai.
Thank you so very much, Ananda Tirtha Prabhu. It came up with so much of heart. You are an integral and seamless member of the Mayapur community, and the kind of service that you render from behind the curtains is amazing. So thank you very much. And though you are not saying it, but your separation is shouting louder. All glories to your association with him. May I now take this opportunity to invite His Grace Ganga Prabhu, another resident of Sridham Mayapur who has spent considerable time in Dham, and we would love to hear from him about his time that he spent with Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Okay. Hare Krishna to everybody. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swamini Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pasattade Satarine. So I am very sad to talk about this great Vaishnava, Pankajanghri Prabhu, because he has left us, but at the same time, we feel happy that he has most probably reached the ultimate destination, the lotus feet of the Lord. He was such a wonderful, jolly personality that I always joke with him. I thought he's my elder brother, and I can tell him anything. And from when I first came in '79 in Mayapur, there were only this, and I told this story maybe before. I didn't know there were two people looking the same, and I saw one devotee entering one door, and he's coming out after 1 second to the other door, and I thought, what's going on? There's this devotee, they have a mystic power. But then one devotee next to me told me, there are two people, they are the twins. It's Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajanghri Prabhu. So I was introduced to them, and they always preach to me, and they make me feel always welcome. And we did a lot of nice service together in different occasions, in establishing the deity of Nishingadev, transporting the Panchatattva. I was working with Jananivas for 2 years in South India.
For some reason, we seem to have lost connection with His Grace Ganga Prabhu.
He's going to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. And whatever we were doing, he was always thinking, are we going to please Krishna and Prabhupada by doing?
It looks like a bandwidth issue, Ganga Prabhu. If you can hear me, maybe you can turn off your video, and that way we'll be able to hear you better. It seems that Ganga Prabhu, you are muted.
Sorry,
If you can hear us, Ganga Prabhu, please turn off your video and then speak, because at your end there is a network issue, it seems.
start video.
You can stop the video and then speak so that we can hear you. It seems there is a network issue at your end. No, we can't. We seem to have lost him for a while. Okay, so while that, Prabhuji joins us back, because I'm not seeing him here.
The internet connection is unstable. We went on.
In the gallery also, I'm not able to locate.
Still on.
All right, we will resume once.
Start video.
Prabhuji
Stop
is
the
back.
video.
Because
I now
Your
request Her Grace Sharanagati.
or the hostess.
May I now request Her Grace Sharanagati Mataji to kindly share her realizations about His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. Over to you, Mataji.
Hi, Krishna. My mind has sort of gone blank, but anyway, I just wanted to express my gratitude to how much the past 18 years Pankajanghri Prabhu has played a huge part in my life. From the point when Sri Ramaj left, I saw Pankajanghri Prabhu. I first met him at the Manor in 2004. And, you know, we ended up sitting at a table together taking prasadam outside. And I shared some experiences that I had upon Sri Ramaj leaving. And he said to me, don't wait till you get that again before taking external diksha. And that was like the beginning. I realized recently actually that this was the beginning of shelter, even though I didn't really see it as that at the time. The Pankajanghri has given me, because then later on in 2004, when I came to reside in Mayapur, again, it was his phone call that got me in management's position so I could go to the FRO and stay. You know, you need people to vouch for you, so he vouched for me, even though he didn't even know me. And over the years, he's given me different services and responsibilities that I'm no way qualified to carry out, but under his, him having faith in me, just, he's like, just guided me and purified me through different things. Like, I'll share one pastime that is quite humorous. One time I had a first boil on my face, and I was taking darshan from Lord Nrsingadev, and then all of a sudden Pankajanghri appeared from nowhere on the altar, and he jumped off and he said, Nrsingadev says boils are a sign of anger, and then he just disappeared. And it was like my false ego is thinking, okay. And then I went to Panchatat for darshan, but my mind was disturbed, or my false ego was disturbed. So I thought I need to go and see the Nrsingadev again, so he can, you know, maybe reveal a bit more. But I was afraid that Pankajanghri Prabhu might give some more sudden words of wisdom that it irritated my false ego more. So I hid behind a pillar, so I couldn't see him, but I could just see Nrsingadev. And then later on in the evening, I did see Pankajanghri Prabhu again at the temple, because I asked him, I had the realization that anger is there's two levels. There's like gross anger. I was saying to Pankajanghri Prabhu, and I said that I realized there's also subtle anger, because that particular morning I'd been making medicine for one devotee, and the medicine was late. Lady was late collecting medicine, and I didn't become what I would consider angry, but I realized it was subtle anger. Like, you know, anger doesn't have to be like I hit something, I kicked something, just a disturbance within the heart would come under that group. Anyway, so I was talking to Pankajanghri Prabhu, my realizations that just about that I realized that yes, this boil is all the anger that I'm carrying. And he said just a few little words. He said, we must be, he agreed, and he said, we must be diligent at every step. Because I always remember Srila Prabhupada says about be conscious and then Krishna conscious. And Pankajanghri telling me we must be diligent. It is like super conscious. And these words become so fixed in my wall of devotional creeper that when I hear the word diligent, I just think of Prabhu. And but he's would always be able to give the highest chastisement, and believe me, I've he's given me enough polishing of the heart, should we say, over the years. But his words are always spoken in the most compassionate, straightforward but gentle way, but not deviating from the highest concept. You know, so simultaneously it's like that even with my kids and with so many devotees over the world, he has this wonderful ability to connect wherever you're at and give you instructions of the highest caliber to assist you in your devotional life. And like, you know, he gave me service with Simantini when we was developing her, and like these gardens we're developing, we've just spent the last nearly 5 years working on this Vrindavan garden, and he's been so tolerant, because I'm not at all qualified to be doing this with him, and we're sort of like a team, and he definitely is still with us because he knows that we can't finish this without his input. And but so tolerant, you know, he would just be so tolerant that we would end up with like 3 or 4 hour meetings, and I would just be talking and talking and talking, and he would just tolerate and listen, and we'd brainstorm. So, and but even just fortunately, I ended up recording 4 years worth of exchanges, so I'm so glad of that. But I'll share one meeting. Okay, so it's a bit personal, but it just displays that even though Pankajanghri could be very serious, even though he would joke, at the end of one meeting, there was like a few of us, like there was Jananivesh Prabhu, Pankajanghri Prabhu, Rudradreep was there, and Kurma, and Kurma Chaitanya Prabhu. And he knew I'm always on some sort of diet, and I pretty much only take like a Kadashi Prasad. And someone had given him, because the next was going to be he was traveling, and someone had given him a huge bag of these Kadashi sweets that they started making in Mayapur, like 6 or 7 boxes. And we used to sit in a circle for our meetings on the floor, and he just said, Prashadam. And instead of us just getting a bit in our hand, he got us all plates, and we had these little plates, and he put every single sweet in a box on the floor in the middle of us. And it was just like the painting of the cowherd boys having a cowherd boy picnic. And it and he gave us 1 sweet from every box. And then Karma took a few more out of one, and I'm thinking, okay, that's my cue, I can take one. And then at the end, I was so cheeky because I don't usually take sweets, and he's just looking at me, and it's like, well, you know. And I said, can I have one more of these ones that had rose petals in? And he closed the box, and he gave me the whole box, and I felt so embarrassed. But it you know, just he I can't express. I mean, my brain went a bit brain dead before I was going to speak, but I can't express the gratitude of having had and still feel the presence of Pankajanghri Prabhu. I did have a few dreams, but actually I shared with Janandas Prabhu, and I'd rather not share them, but just in a few different things that have happened since his passing, I really feel, and I want everyone to understand that it's good that we can still refer to him as present and not gone, because I know from Sri Ramaji's leaving and now from Pankajanghri Prabhu's leaving that Guru, whether Shiksha or Diksha, is definitely with us and remains with us. Like one last quick pastime on that note is like in 2020 we did a lot of fundraising at ILS, and during our meetings I kept telling Pankajanghri Prabhu, I'm not going to sit on a booth. I'm not going to sit on a booth. Anyway, I ended up sitting on both booths for 5 weeks with Rudra, and he was, I mean, which was amusing in itself, but it was really good. But one day, it was like a day where he expressed special care from Lord Nrsingadev. He sent breakfast from Lord Nrsingadev with Rudra. Then he sent lunch to our booth. And then he came and saw us, you know, a few times. And it was like they say that you have Guru is like a monkey where you're grabbing onto Guru's back and they just do their own monkey thing. Or another type of Guru or shelter is where they're like the lion and they carry the lion cubs in their mouth. And I really feel that his shelter that he gave to devotees, not just me, devotees all over the world, is that he took care of us like lion cubs, and he was truly a father to the whole world. And anyway, I'll stop speaking now. Oh, this why I'm saying that story. This year, even though Pankajanghri Prabhu's Vapu is not here, I realized that Guru Purnima is the only time we can really get some good fundraising. So me and Rudra, we thought, okay, let's just do a booth. We had like 5 days, but 2 weeks before, he actually, a family connected me, 2 girls, and it turned out, to cut the whole story short, that basically he introduced me to a family. So I feel like another family, because it turned out that the lady, the 2 girls' parents they hosted Pankajanghri Prabhu in England in 2019, and they also visited Mayapur, and they were very closely connected with a lot of the departments here in the deity department, and they spent a lot of time. And their mom, before they came, because I had to convince their parents that I would be their shelter and guardian here, she sent me 39 photos and videos of Pankajanghri Prabhu with their family. And I felt that this was like Pankajanghri Prabhu saying, I might not be here in person, but I'm sending, you know, it's like him just letting me know before Guru Purnima that he's still with us in our endeavors, with our projecting and everything, you know. Anyway, I'll let other people speak that have more cognitive words to say. Hi Krishna, thank you so much. Pankajanghri ki jai. Janai Resh Prabhu ki
Thank you so much,
jai.
Sharanagati Mataji. It was a wonderful, heartfelt, glorification. More than that, we can sense that the amount of time that you spent as a subordinate during your early FRO days, as well as the ILS fundraising and so on and so forth. Initially, when you said my mind is blank, I quite couldn't fathom what you meant by that. But having heard what you just said, I can now relate, all these things. May I now request Vasanta Mataji to kindly share her experiences with Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. Over to you, Vasanta Mataji.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I'm really not qualified to speak. So many senior devotees. Just shortly, I can remember few happenings, few events with Pankajanghri Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mataji.
So I'm actually very grateful to Lord Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada, my Guru Maharaj, that I met Janmas Pankajanghri Prabhu and got to know them. I'm just extremely fortunate and grateful. And I remember when my Guru Maharaj, Srila Rohini Sutta Prabhu, came last time to Mayapur, maybe 6 years ago. And he, with Pankajanghri Prabhu, they're very good close friends, and they went for parikramas together. It was a very sweet time. And one time we went for parikrama from main gate, and we had to take a rickshaw. And I was trying to find the rickshaws and ask about the price, and the rickshaw told me, rickshawala, that some very high price. And I started becoming angry and arguing with him, and he didn't lower the price, and I became more angry. And then Pankajanghri Prabhu came to us, and then he quietly told me that you can't do anything by anger and arguing. And he like was very soft and quiet, and he spoke to rickshawala and resolved the problem, and somehow we went nicely for parikrama. So I remember that he told me like this. And also I was doing little service in Prabhupada room, and he always, like today, Primati Mataji was telling, like he was very easily approachable anytime, like family member. And I remember anytime I have problems, a question or some puja orders, he always was ready to help. And if I have some questions about some Prabhupada room, things of Srila Prabhupada, or painting pictures and something, he was always ready to help. And also in cake kitchen, we have some problems with ovens, with gas or something. He always personally were coming and looking what is the problem, how to solve. We're calling mystery, and like very, very personal and helpful. Also, few times he went to Russia for preaching. We invited him. And one time I remember I also was in St. Petersburg that time, and he came from Moscow by train, like a nice speedy train to St. Petersburg. And we came, all my family, my husband, Nardmuni, Janaki, my daughter, and me, to meet him in the train station. And he came, and he became so blissful that all of us came to meet him, and he was, oh, it's so nice to meet you here. And then we spent like week or so in St. Petersburg going for programs. And one time we went for King's Winter Palace in Petrodvorets. It's a very famous, beautiful place in the winter, actually summer palace. And he was looking for gardens, how it's flower designs there, for palaces, for fountains, how everything arranged. He always was thinking for Mayapur, how to do nice arrangement in Mayapur, beautiful parks and everything. And he was like going everywhere and looking. And we came by speedy boat, by river, from St. Petersburg to this place and back. And it was very sweet time with him. All devotees fell in love with him in Russia. Actually, even many devotees was asking for initiation, I remember. And he was smiling and saying that he's not giving initiations, and he was giving some presents from Mayapur devotees. Also, like one devotee, Mataji, she told me also that one time, maybe many times, she saw like he was personally polishing walls on Nrsimhadev altar, like doing himself. And she asked him, why are you doing yourself. Maybe you can ask another brahmacharis. And he said, oh, it's so difficult to teach everybody. It's always different pujaris. Better I do myself. And he was like polishing the walls, because sometimes walls becoming dirty or in oil and not shiny enough. So he was taking care about Nrsingadev. In the classes, because also some time I translated some classes of him, and always he was encouraging devotees for going back to Godhead. I remember practically every class he was telling about material life, material universe, how it's everything like difficult in this world, and at the end he always encouraging, but we have to go back to Godhead, and it's not so difficult process, everything easy. And it was so when you listen him, you understand it's really not so difficult. It's quite easy. Just chant, participate in programs, do some service, and just go. It was very wonderful, inspiring. And just recently, I was in Vrindavan and I got a dream about him. And he was doing many services. But on the background, I hear like he's chanting. He always chanting. He was always chanting Hare Krishna, because he was very active all the time. But he was very strict and very dedicated to chanting. He never left the rounds, leaving rounds for next day, and he was always finishing rounds. And even if it's late, and he had many services in a day, he always chanted all his rounds before going to sleep. And in this dream, I saw he doing many services, but like he was chanting all the time. He was chanting, and I asked him, "Oh, can I invite you for lunch?" And he said, "Ask Ananivas Prabhu." It was very sweet. So he was actually like a mother, very approachable, very kind, very tolerant. We miss him very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for your heartfelt offering for Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. We have recently been joined by His Grace Hari Leela Prabhu. I'm sure, particularly during the last few days when Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu was physically unwell, Prabhu's medical team took very nice care of him. And Prabhu has many things to share. So may I request His Grace Hari Leela Prabhu to kindly share those moments, those experiences. Over to you, Hari Leela Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu ki jai. I was very fortunate to have come in contact with Pankajanghri Prabhu, great personality. I always had some difficulty in trying to make out some difference between Pankajanghri Prabhu and Janyas Prabhu, because I'm not so intelligent with people. Anyway, so there are many things to speak about, but since time is very limited, I would just like to recollect one memory from the night which actually led to his glorious departure. So the doctors were on the Zoom call. Internationally, many doctors were connected on the Zoom call. They were all quite anxious about what is happening to Pankajanghri Prabhu. And the ground doctors, Dr. Sukhi, and there was an Ayurvedic doctor. They were trying to do their best. There were two nurses male nurses from Bhaktivedanta Hospital, who had been flown in to attend to Pankajanghri Prabhu. We set up the first ICU in Mayapur for him, for Prabhu. So that night was quite tense and things were not looking really nice. And the doctors had thought that he had lost his consciousness. They were trying to test if Prabhu was conscious, and normally the doctors have a certain way of testing. So they tried to test like that, and then he was not responding. And the doctors were thinking probably he has lost his consciousness. And I was there at the time, and I was also speaking with the doctors at the same time, trying to coordinate with the ground doctors, see the situation. And I was hearing them saying that, oh, probably he has lost his consciousness. And suddenly, then Pankajanghri Prabhu made a hand movement. And that hand movement was not a reflex. It's not a reflexive movement. It was a deliberate movement. And the deliberate movement actually showed that he doesn't want to get disturbed, but he is conscious. He was just focusing internally. And he didn't want to get disturbed. He had stopped responding to unnecessary stimulus, but it was not that he was not conscious. He was conscious. So I told the doctors, see, he moved his hand, and it is not like a reflexive movement. I can very clearly see that he moved his hand by purpose. And then that was one hint that he was completely conscious and he was internalizing his consciousness and doesn't want to be disturbed. And the other hint was that when we wanted to do that procedure, because what had happened was there was a big lump of mucus and blood, which was actually on his airway, and it was blocking his airway. And there was no way to remove that. So we wanted to actually do a procedure, which is not a very pleasant procedure. Wanted to do a procedure. So the doctors had taken permission from Jarnivas Prabhu to do the procedure. And then Dr. Acharya Ratna, who did the procedure, he actually asked Pankajanghri Prabhu that we are going to do this procedure on you. Are you okay with it? So he faintly nodded his head to show that he was okay with doing the procedure. That was the second indication that he was quite conscious and he was aware of what is happening. Of course, the procedure did not yield much success. Some amount of mucus and blood came out, but there was quite a bit of it left, and there was too much risk to do the procedure again, because he was on very high amount of oxygen, and in order to do that procedure, we had to momentarily take him out of oxygen. So when the same procedure was done the second time, he left his body. That was not done immediately at the night. Whole night, Dr. Suki, he was attempting to see if he can dissolve that mucus. He was sitting and giving into the oxygen mask injection after injection of something which could dissolve the mucus. And he was whole night he was doing it. And then the next day morning, and we tried to see if we can do it again, but then Prabhu left his body. It was I was there, and it was a great moment of learning on how to leave one's body. A great moment of learning. Anyway, now he's not there. Krishna knows what is best for all of us, and Krishna decided to take Pankajanghri Prabhu away. But Pankajanghri Prabhu, he was very keen that there should be some facility, medical facility in Mayapur. so that devotees don't have to leave Mayapur. He was not at all ready to leave Mayapur. It required a lot of convincing for him to get out of Mayapur. By his mercy, the hospital is manifesting. We hope that we'll be able to make that offering to him, that facility, we'll be able to make that offering to him. Of course, there's a long way to go in terms of securing enough funds, securing enough resources. So many different challenges are there. So on this day, I take this opportunity to beg for his mercy that the project should be completed. His desire that Vaishnavas don't have to leave Mayapur for the sake of treatment, it should come true and be great service to Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Hare Leela Prabhu. It was so lively in a sense that you almost transported us into that night. And who's from Vrindavan, but he now lives in Singapore because he has to leave. It's a little late out there. So, Prabhu, over to you for your glorification for Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. You are muted, Prabhu. You are muted.
Oh, sorry. Vamcha kalpadrubhasya kripa sundivyeva cha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Okay, so this is His Grace Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu ki Jai. I had a very, we had a, from 1996, 2001 till 2001, 5 years of association with him. And I had left Bangalore temple because of the differences. So when I came to Mayapur, then he really took care of me. I mean, I have so many. Oh, sorry. He took care of me, and he was very humble, very approachable. Never made us feel that he's Prabhupada disciple. Or senior disciple. And I had very intimate association with him, and I always felt like he's my friend, always a great friend. And I always to get mistaken identity. I asked him, Prabhu, are you Jananivas Prabhu or Pankajanghri Prabhu? He will say, this is Pankajanghri Prabhu. This is Pankajanghri. And there's so much of, and I remember I was given the task of preaching in IIT Kharagpur and Indian Student Management Calcutta and Marine Engineering College, and by Harikesh Swami then, because management wanted some youth preaching. So they appointed me as ISKCON youth preaching in charge. So I used to go to Calcutta quite often. Kharagpur was a very difficult, all the way from Mayapur. And I would tell him that, so much difficulty. Then he said, don't worry, I'll bless you. Put both his hands on my head. Then he will give me so much Mahaprasad, take it and give it to the boys, give it to all the boys there. And he was always, on whenever I come back to Mayapur, I will go straight to him, as I'll give him the preaching report of IIT Kharagpur, which was very dear to my Guru Maharaj, Jayapataka Maharaj, and also that Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajanghri Prabhu also, they were very, very keen to know everything. So they asked me to give Bhagavatam class in Mayapur about preaching, so that inspired other devotees, and so that we can do a lot of preaching there. Of course, those times were quite difficult. There was a conflict of interest with the Bengali devotees because they thought we are trying to take over the temple. It was nothing like that. We just wanted some devotees who can come into some skilled preaching, and that was the thing. But somehow there was a lot of conflict and a lot of fighting, and I was in between the two wars, Bengali and the Western devotees. I mean, like, so Pankajanghri Prabhu will give me a lot of faith. Don't worry. This is a misunderstanding will be cleared. Narasimhadev Bhagwan will clear this misunderstanding, and we all need everybody. We just not that everybody has to be from a very highly skilled background. I mean, we need the Bengali devotees also, because they are very nice Vaishnavas, and their kirtans is out of the world, and they have so much of talent. So everything is required in Krishna consciousness. So he always preached to me like that. I remember one day I was learning how to cook, so I made some parathas in the conch building. There was a kitchen there. I don't know whether it's still there, but I made some paratha that day, and he knew my background. I'm from Oman, Muscat, Muslim country. I worked there. So he would always say "Salam alaikum." I mean, he was so humorous. He was very humorous, and he will joke and say things very powerful preaching instructions in a very joking way. That was his quality. That he never made me feel that, oh, you listen to me, I'm your boss. he will act like he was my. He was like, I was feeling very bad, like he will act like he's my servant. I mean, I really didn't like that idea. I said, Prabhu, you're Prabhupada disciple, please let me be your servant. Always. And he was my counselor, English counselor for English speaking devotees. So he would counsel me and many things. I had faced so much difficulties in Mayapur, and because there was always, somehow the conflicts were always there. The struggle, there's a big struggle, but he made my struggle very light. He made it very light, and he would always pray to Narasimhadev. He said, "You'll take me there and give me the kavacha, the metal." He'll always put, and he'll give me some special prashadam, flowers, whenever I go preaching or whenever I come back from preaching. He was very, very nice. He was, I mean, I can never forget his face, even now, his smiling face, and the way he talked, and he would go hours. He will tell us about the quiet attack in Mayapur. So he will, every evening after everything is closed, temple is closed, we'll stand there, 3-4 of us will stand there, and he will narrate the whole dacoit story, how they entered, how the fire, how they hid both the brothers, Janivas Prabhu and Pankajanghri Prabhu, hid behind the curtains, and they were like put up a candle, and they were just praying like this so that the dacoits don't disturb them. So they were so afraid of that, and I was like, I was a brahmachari, so I was wearing saffron dress. So I said, Prabhu, I don't want to get married, and so he said, why you don't get married? No problem, very easy. I said, Prabhu, you're saying it, but my mind is, I'm feeling isolation. I was like having difficulties, like as a brahmachari. So he said, well, you don't. But I said, Prabhu, I don't want to. I'm very inspired by you and both your brothers. But then I want to be like you, brahmachari forever. He said, yes, I bless you. But then somehow circumstances changed, and then I had to get married because but he said, no problem, get married. I and my wife went to him in his room, Pujari room, and they both at night giving us blessings, both of them. So much blessing in Mahaprasad, and they gave us a lot of instructions about Grihastha life. But he made sure that I'm preaching, and he made sure that my preaching should not stop at any cost. So because they need a lot of skilled devotees also for the management, for the services there. So there was a lot of this conflict. So I was in between the conflict. So I was like bang from both sides. Bengalis wanted me to be with the Bengalis. The English-speaking devotees were always like, I've talked to a lot of devotees. They said, okay, wonderful preaching. They would encourage me, especially Pankajanghri Prabhu encouraged me, and he was very outspoken, and he was joking all the time with me. I never felt that I'm speaking to a Prabhupada disciple. He was so joking. He will joke, and he will tell me so many things, instructions, and he will make me feel so nice. He knew my struggle, because preaching is not easy. Whenever we try to preach, then Maya Devi creates a lot of hurdles, but he made sure that Narasimhadev was always there, and he always prayed to Narasimhadev for me. He said, I'm praying for you, please go on preaching and do not stop. So I went on it like that. So I had wonderful 5 years, and those 5 years are my treasure years. I cannot forget. The Ganga Snan we used to go together after Prasadam, and I cannot forget this association forever. Is always in my heart. And we can never get a great devotee like him in ISKCON history. In history of ISKCON, these are gems. These are really gems, and we are very fortunate that he was there with us for so much time, and we must not forget that these devotees are very rare, and we should cling to their lotus feet and take all the association possible, so that we can become pakka devotees and become pure devotees, like I mean, in their footsteps, and go back to Godhead by their blessings. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Jai Shripad Pankajanghri Prabhu ki Jai, Mayapur Dham ki Jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. And naturally, most of us are feeling the separation, perhaps because you spend more time with Prabhu. So that's why your separation is too much. We are sorry for this. We are joined by His Grace Sukhi Achyuta Prabhu now, who was the doctor treating Shripad Pankajanghri Prabhu, particularly in his last days when he contacted COVID-19 and followed by that all the other complications. We would wish to hear from him now. So, Prabhu, may I request you to kindly share your experiences about Shripad Pankajanghri Prabhu's last few days, and after that we will be joined by the senior devotees who have spent more time with Shripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. So may I now invite His Grace Sukhi Achyuta Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Sukhi Achyuta Prabhu, you need to unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam to all.
Yes, we can hear you now, loud and clear.
Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. So I had very short and not very sweet association with Pankajanghri Prabhu. And first time I closely treated him when in the Rath Yatra of 2020, he came with his broken toe. And when he came, people came with him and they said that Prabhuji has injured his toe. I thought it will be simple injury, some kind of aberration. But when I started opening the piece of saffron cloth, then I found that inside the saffron cloth, lot of grasses are there wrapped around his toe. And I asked, like, why so much of grass is there? Did you fell in a place where a lot of grass were there? He said, no, I took it from nearby place and I put it here. Because in Shastra says, Durva grass is antiseptic. And when I removed all the grass, outer grass, then I came to know that his toe was broken into two halves, like completely broken into two, except for a very small layer in the posterior aspect. It was broken as if we break the lady's finger. So he had full confidence, whatever he has read in Shastras, whatever Prabhupada instructed him, he, even with his background of being in a Western world, his upbringing in Western world, he had complete faith on the Shastras. While I was dressing him, lot of tiny durba grass particles were there inside, and it was very important to remove each and every tiny bits inside. So I told him that, Prabhu, that was the time when durba grasses used to grow in field which were not very much contaminated, and at that time we did not have many more antiseptics like now we have, like betadine and all. So when we have betadine, we should use betadine instead of durba grass. See, now I have to remove each and every durba grass from your broken toe. He said, okay, what to do? I was just doing some show off, and I fell down and I broke my toe. So it was his humility in which he was showing me that what he did was actually a show off. It's known for all those people who witnessed that Rath Yatra, and there are all the Rath Yatras done in past in Mayapur, that Pankajanghri Prabhu used to be the famous dancer in that Rath Yatra in front of Lord Jagannath. He used to dance for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath. When he came to hospital with broken toe, he told that he was doing show off and he fell down. Similarly, when I thought like this will be the last encounter of me with Pankajanghri Prabhu as a doctor, but unfortunately, I again had to see him when he got sick just before some Srivas Acharya's appearance day. And later we came to know that he's having COVID. Since the most common and well acknowledged risk factor for morbidity for COVID was obesity, and by seeing, nobody will say that Pankajanghri Prabhu was an obese person or overweight person. So I was also very confident that like any other lean and thin person, he will do well with COVID. But Krishna had some different plan. And to some extent, he was aware of that plan. With so much of arrogance, I was so overconfident that he will completely recover. Even when I was starting a medicine which was meant to prevent damage of lung that happens in COVID, fibrosis of lung, he asked me, what is this medicine is for? I told that this is to prevent fibrosis, as when you will become negative and when you will become completely all right, even then this disease can give you fibrosis of your lung. That will be a sequelae of this disease. Then he asked me, like, are you sure that I will be completely recovered with this disease? I said, yes, why not? And I explained him all my so-called scientific knowledge to him, that why he will recover completely. He gave a kind of smile and said, okay, whatever you say. whenever we used to add some medicines, he used to be very skeptical about adding more and more medicines. He was saying, like, I'm taking this on the name of Ayurvedic medicines. These all medicines are there. Now again some medicines are coming. So nobody knows that which medicine is actually working, or nobody knows whether medicines are working or not. He was like, he never used to be like somebody who he is not. He always used to show whatever he feels. He used to say whatever he feels in truth. If medicines are bitter, he is not liking, he will say it. If he likes something, he will tell that. But at the same time, he was not arrogant, and he was not like some VIP patient, like that creates problem for a patient, for a doctor to treat them. He was following all the instructions. I still remember in his 7th or 8th day of his disease, when he was becoming more and more breathless, I saw him cleaning his own house in his own room. He himself, he was wiping his room, and he was trying to show that how good he is. He was trying to boost my confidence that yes, what treatment I am giving is working for him. He was a patient who was encouraging his doctor. And I remember when I used to go to take care of his toe before COVID, I used to ask him, like, why he decided to be like what he is, like completely kshetra sannyas, or like not going out of Mayapur, completely surrendered to the instructions of Prabhupada. His simple statement was that due to his accent, I was unable to understand. So I asked him 2-3 times, what? And he said, it is the best thing that I could have done in my life. So I did that. And then he narrated all his story, how he came to India, how Jananivas Prabhu was first convinced, and how he was not ready to accept initially a spiritual master, how a dream in which he was drowning, and then Prabhupada saved him from drowning, made him accept Prabhupada as his spiritual master. And a lot of stories he told me about how he came to India and how he became a disciple of Prabhupada. I have seen few more senior devotees, and their worry about their health. Sometimes I feel the worry that they show is not necessary. There are two different things. One is a genuine worry for the body so that we can continue our seva, and so much of another thing is so much of worry about our health so that we are unable to continue our seva. So in his part, he was only that much worried about his health, with which he can, without any break, continue his seva. When he has his broken toe, he used to bargain that in how many days I will be able to go back to temple. And every time when I used to say that it will take 6 weeks, so he used to ask me like, can it be lesser than that? It's too boring to always sitting in room. Though he was always absorbed in hearing and reading. And most of the time when I used to go, his servant, Rudradeep Nimai, read for him Gopal Champu, and he used to hear from that. And Pankajanghri Prabhu, in the last 3-4 days, there was never a time for me in which I could have convinced myself that Pankajanghri Prabhu will leave his body. Even the day he left his body, just before just one night before, when I came back at around 11 o'clock, I was so confident his saturations were staying more than 90, and it was going even 94. I was very confident, and we were talking amongst ourselves, all the hospital people, that Pankajanghri Prabhu will be all right, and he will take part in the Narsim Dev's Abhishek. And when we were taking him to Kolkata, at that time, he said that he doesn't want to be on iron lung. He said that Prabhupada never supported this kind of treatment in which a person is not having control on his own breath. He doesn't want any situation in which his breathing is not in his own control. So he made it clear that he should not be on ventilator. Jananivas Prabhu also came, he also told the same thing, that he should not be put on ventilator. Do whatever treatment you want to do, but he should not be put on ventilator. When we were going, and the road through which we went, the Ranaghat side road, it was full of potholes. And when we were about to enter into the suburban area of Kolkata, we started getting so many jams, traffic jams. And when I used to tell him that we are about to reach, he was saying like, it's better to, he asked me like, when are we going to have a good hospital in Mayapur? I said, we are trying, Prabhu. He said, yeah, it's very important, because just for the sake of treatment, we have to leave Mayapur. That was showing his intense love for Mayapur. And he said that it's better to lament in Mayapur rather than to suffer on the road to Kolkata. Even when he was in ambulance going to Kolkata, he used to joke. I asked him once that, Prabhu, are you feeling hungry? May I give you some rice and dal that my wife has packed? And I indicated my hand towards the rack where I thought the rice and dal is there. He said, you are showing me the rice fields and you are asking me to eat rice. Then I noticed that outside through the window, he was able to see the rice field. And he was saying that you are showing me rice field and you are telling me to eat the rice. So when we reached Kolkata, at that time, due to some legal issues, doctors all around the world, they were trying him to understand that ventilatory support with intubation is a kind of mainstream treatment when we are unable to maintain the oxygen saturation. But he was adamant that he should not be intubated. He don't want to breathe in such a way in which he don't have control on his own breathing. So when the doctors, they were pressing him that, are you sure, Pankajanghri Prabhu, that you do not want to be intubated even when you are dying? He became little upset and he said, why are they becoming so strong? They're so heavy. If I'm not becoming all right, I will jump back. I will jump in Ganga and go back to Mayapur. What is the big deal in this? So it was a like complete Dhira composer he was showing when he was going through a lot of problems. It's almost impossible to understand until we go through that same condition in which we feel difficulty in breathing. When I had COVID, I understood that how the patients are feeling when they are having difficulty in breathing. And it's a very, very difficult situation even to think about anything positive. When I had COVID, I used to see only those faces who died with COVID. Though the number of people who survived were almost 100 times more than those who died. But that's condition in which your oxygen saturation is going down and you are unable to breathe properly, you are on oxygen. Even in that situation, if people are able to make joke, if people are able to say, what is there in that? I will jump in Ganga, go back to Mayapur. It shows their transcendental character. Even when he came back to Mayapur, it was like a very adventurous journey coming back to Mayapur with such an oxygen demand that like within 2 hours, within 1 hour, one big jumbo D cylinder used to be completely empty. With that kind of oxygen demand, he came. And when in the middle of journey, due to lack of oxygen, when he became unconscious, when he regained consciousness, the first thing he told me, don't worry, let's go to Mayapur. Nothing will happen. We were thinking that he is becoming unconscious the day he left his body. But actually, voluntarily, he stopped communicating with people. I strongly believe he was meditating inside. Like about 10 hours ago, 10 hours before he left his body, when we discovered that he is having something in his airway which is stopping his air to reach till his lung, we wanted to suck out that mucus. When I told him in his ear that, Prabhu, we are going to do a procedure in which we will put a pipe through your mouth. It is not for intubation, but it is for cleaning of your throat. We are going to clean, something is there inside. Are you ready?
he nodded his head like this once. But before that, since like a few, like 1-2 days, he was not communicating with anyone, but actually he was well conscious inside. He was meditating inside. So only thing I should say now is like it's very rare to have opportunity to see that kind of person, and I'm very thankful to Srila Prabhupada who gave me an opportunity to serve him through his disciples. Thank you very much to all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Sukhi Achyuta Prabhu. As I had imagined that you will, literally transport us, not literally, of course, figuratively, into that time period, and it does reflect the cleansing process of your own consciousness by associating with an elevated Vaishnava such as Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. I have an announcement to make. We are short on time and we have many devotees, but I would like to request His Grace Atul Krishna Prabhu, who has been patiently waiting, and I would also like to request Her Grace Vrajalalana Mataji. She has been very patiently waiting since the very beginning. So after Atul Krishna Prabhu, Mataji, I would request that you share your experiences with Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. Over to Atul Krishna Prabhu.
Panchakalpatrubhyascha kripasindubhyacha putitanam pavanebha vaishnavebha namo namaha. I hosted Pankajanghri Prabhu in 1988. That's 33 years ago in Melbourne, Mahaprabhu Mandir. At that time, Prabhu had visited Australia on one of these missions where I think he was with Jananivas Prabhu's passport and getting the passport or visa renewed or something. So he slept on the floor of the Brahmachari ashram in the room with us. I was sleeping next to him on the floor for 2 or 3 days in Melbourne, Prabhupada's Tirthastan. So we asked the Prabhu, they have a room, they have many guest rooms there, and in the guest room and the senior devotee facility, and he said that Prabhupada said that a brahmachari shouldn't sleep alone in a room, otherwise he'd fall down. So Pankajanghri Prabhu was staying with us in the brahmachari ashram then. My association with Prabhu in Mayapur was predominantly when we're away from Mayapur in preaching services. I remember we were in Ramkelly with Pankajanghri Prabhu and Jananivas Prabhu, and in Panihati, we did a program in Panihati. And at that time I was worshipping Shalagam Shila, and Pankajanghri Prabhu mentioned to me that when you're the conch as the bathing jal, the Ganga jal, he said, hold it higher so that the impact is more on the Shila and the Lord is more pleased by that. So in that way, he's my Vigraha Aradhana Shikha Guru. And we were in Bangladesh in 1998, and we are opening the Rup Sanatan Shiti Tirtha Mandir. And at that time, Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajanghri Prabhu came from Mayapur to install the deities of Sisi Radha Madan Mohan and Rup Sanatan and Gaunitai. And that's the first time I had significant association with the two Prabhus outside of just visits to India in the past. So at that time I was serving in Bangladesh, and after we installed those deities, I was with Prabhu, both Pankajanghri Prabhu and Jananivas Prabhu in Dhaka in our temple. And they were there for some time, for a day or two, or an evening, 1 or 2. So I was able to associate with them and do a little seva there. My wife was there with me at that time also, so we were able to do a little seva for Pankajanghri Prabhu and Jananivas Prabhu. And then we put them, actually, I was sending them to the airport. We didn't even have a vehicle, actually. We sent them to the airport in an auto rickshaw like it would take about an hour in the auto rickshaw. And anyway, we put them in the auto rickshaw, and then we said, I prayed to Jani Nivas Prabhu and Pankajanghri Prabhu at that time. That was just before I was coming to Mayapur. And so I prayed to them, I just changed ashram and I was coming to live in Mayapur. And so I prayed to them to please pray for me to Radha Madhav and Lord Nrsingadev that I could get a place to do Bhagavad Bhakti in Sri Mayapur Dham. So at that time, I didn't realize how important that is, how powerful that is to have the prayers of Pankajanghri Prabhu and Jani Nivas Prabhu. But as a result of those prayers, I was able to get residence in Sri Mayapur. We used to in Rath Yatra in Kolkata, Pankajanghri Prabhu and Jani Nivas Prabhu would be with their arms raised. They would be dancing along the streets of Kolkata. And I was able to, fortunate to be able to associate with those two extraordinary souls in the Rath Yatra festival in Kolkata, which Prabhupada ordered Jayapataka Swami Maharaj to make it the largest Rath Yatra festival in the world. So Kolkata Rath Yatra, that's Prabhupada's Rath Yatra, and to be able to participate in that festival with such exalted souls. I would translate the lectures of Pankajanghri Prabhu and Jani Nivas Prabhu into Bengali, and we would go to and from the stadium together. And honor the Jagannath Mahaprasadam together. My realization is that Jani Nivas Prabhu and Pankajanghri Prabhu are Nitya Mukta Purush, they are liberated souls. Nitya Siddha, eternal associates of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, eternal associates of Srila Prabhupada, who appeared in ISKCON and to do the service of establishing the puja of Narasingha Bhagavan and Panchatattva and Sri Radha Madhav Ashtashaki, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu here in Navadip Dham, because this puja will be performed for generations to come. It will be performed for it'll be performed for centuries to come. It will be performed for yugas to come. And Prabhupada established these deities, his deities, and Prabhupada's special eternal associates, Jani Nivas Prabhu and Pankajanghri Prabhu. Their birth was extraordinary. Their life is extraordinary. And they are performing the extraordinary service of standardizing the worship of most important deities of the planet, of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Renaissance and Revolution, which will be spread from the Temple of Vedic Planetarium. Nitya Lila Pravishta Shila Pankajanghri Das Brahmachari Shubha Tirobhav Titi Mahamocho Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Dear Atul Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for sharing your very deep realization. It was like an ocean of emotions, and you also taught, it was apparent that you had huge difficulty in managing composure because the time is such, but we all seek blessings from His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu, and of course from you as well, to follow in the footsteps of great Vaishnavas. The takeaway from your talk is, if one were to sum up in one line, these two brothers are Nitya Muktas and these two brothers are Nitya Siddhas. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. It was very, very enlightening, and we are sorry that the surge of emotions was unbearable at your end. May I now invite Her Grace Vrajalalana Mataji to kindly share her experiences with His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu. Thank you once again, Atul Krishna Prabhu. Dandavad Pranam.
I would like to share one little experience that I had with Jananivas Prabhu. It's not easy, to be honest, it's not easy to speak after this wonderful, deep devotees who were speaking about Pankajanghri Prabhu, but I hope that my little experience that I share maybe would be useful for somebody to hear. And it's personal thing. Few days before Balaram Purnim 2017, I was diagnosed with cancer. And at that time, I thought, you don't know where to look left or right, how to continue with your life, what to do. It's so confusing. And I was so fortunate. Now when I think about it, how fortunate I am, just I cannot comprehend it, that I had association, I could get, not association, could get instructions of Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajanghri Prabhu on this very first and very confusing days. And the words that Pankajanghri Prabhu told me, they really made like a big shift and gave me clear vision and hope and strength to keep going and keep struggling and keep trying in my Krishna consciousness. And also it gave me the guidance how to deal with this situation. First, I talked to Jananivas Prabhu and I told him that my main anxiety is that I will not make it. I won't pass this exam. That I see that my relationship with Krishna are not strong enough, not developed enough, and I'm afraid I won't be able to think about him in my last moments. And that this is a great fear that I have. And he looked at me very, very kindly, and he told me that there are so few devotees in this world, and whom else he will come to if not for you? That if he won't take you, then whom else he will take? If there are so few of us here in this world. And then it was Balaram Purnim day, and my husband asked Pankajanghri Prabhu pray for me, and did special puja that they do the whole day. They pray for the person. And that day I came to the temple, and outside of the temple I saw Pankajanghri Prabhu, and I came up to him and I said, could you please pray for me and tell me something, give me some instruction, tell me something. And he said, I already prayed for you this morning. I already did the prayer. And then he looked at me and he said, are you afraid to die? And I thought about it for a moment, and I said that probably I'm not afraid to die, but I'm afraid what will happen to me after I die. And that again, I'm afraid I will not make it as a devotee. And then he told me, this is not your concern. This is not your concern. This is the concern of your spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada. You have your spiritual master. You have Srila Prabhupada. Don't think about it. Just pray, Lord Nrsimhadev, please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. This should be your main meditation. Just pray for the service. And so that really, that were the words that helped me to get into right consciousness and gave me a lot of hope and strength. And that's all I would like to share.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much for sharing your realization. Abhay Prabhu, you have been very patiently waiting. My apologies that I was not able to schedule. May I now request you to please share your glorification about Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Abhay Prabhu, am I audible to you? It seems that Prabhu is away from his system. So may I now request His Grace Kurma Gaur Prabhu to glorify Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. Kurma Gaur Prabhu, over to you. It seems that either my voice is not audible. Can one of you please confirm whether you can hear me?
You're audible, Prabhuji.
Okay. Because as I'm calling the names, I was not able to get a response. So, nonetheless, once these devotees, come back, it seems they're just a little away from their systems. So I will take this opportunity, and I would like to invite now Bala Subramaniam Prabhu, who is with us, to glorify Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. You are muted, Prabhu.
नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनीति नामने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चादेशतारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Pankajanghri Prabhu ki jai. On this auspicious occasion, I would want to glorify some of the qualities which I had attracted my heart towards Pankajanghri Prabhu and motivated me to take guidance from him. And I want to tell his glorification by his name. And by Pankajanghri Prabhu's name, I want to glorify his name. And Pankajanghri Prabhu, peaceful at heart, A for ambrosial speaker, N for non-stop service to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. Krishna conscious always, approachable. We can approach him very easily. Joyful dancer. He dances in Rath Yatras and the Kirtan Melas, very joyful. And we can see the Nitai Gaura's emotions in his dancing. Amicable always, non-envious, graceful person, heart-warming person regularly. intimate devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev. And what I heard about Pankajanghri Prabhu, I would like to share some of the points in the altar, which I had heard from the senior devotees, senior most persons, and I heard that, and I would like to share that one with all of you all. And once upon a time, Srila Pankajanghri Prabhu was doing archan in the Sri Nrsimhadev altar, and at a time, his assistant Pujari had seen that while he was doing archan, one of the flower fallen from his hands of Nrsimhadev. So Pankajanghri Prabhu, after completion of the archan, the assistant Pujari Prabhu has said to the Pankajanghri Prabhu, as while doing archan, one of the flower fallen from the Nrsimhadev hand, Prabhu, and Prabhu said, once consult other the devotees who are standing and praying sincerely for prayer to Nrsimhadev. So the assistant Pujari Prabhu and went and asking the devotees who are there in the outside the altar. So one of the Mataji replied that she was offering a sincere prayer about her daughters. So she was having obstacles and problems in her mother-in-law's house. So Prabhu came and asked that Mataji, what you are praying for Nrsimhadev? Is it that a sincere prayer? What I should, how can I help you? That Prabhuji asked that Mataji. Mataji said that my daughter was married recently and she was not having sons, and her pregnancy is not getting. So doctors are saying, no, we cannot do anything. So then Prabhuji said, as you are praying sincere, Nrsimhadev has blessed you by this flower. So take this flower and wash that flower in one glass of water and give that water to your daughter. So Prabhu blessed her like that. And after 1 year, the Mataji returned with her nephew and her daughter and his grandson, and taking the blessings of Nrsimhadev and Pankajanghri Prabhu. Pankajanghri Prabhu is a great entreater. I had seen from he was praying selflessly for anything, who prayed sincerely. He prays for everybody. So I had entreater quality from him. And like that, many of he had prayed for all the devotees. And once upon a time, one devotee asked Pankajanghri Prabhu, why we are not offering nails all the time? Only why we can see the nails only sometime? Then Prabhuji replied that only the nails will be offered when protection required for his own devotees. So we can see Pankajanghri Prabhu, when he was in health, the Nrsimhadev was offered nails with, we can have darshan with his nails. Or so so many pastimes I had from Pankajanghri Prabhu and heard personally from Million Madan Prabhu. So like that, he was so merciful to the all devotees contacting. He contacts very easily. We can contact him. So he was so merciful to the any devotees. He does not. He will accept anybody. He will pray for all of us. And he was a good dancer. While we having Jagannath Rath Yatra in 2010 near Calcutta, he was continuously dancing without shackles. He was running and dancing till 5 hours. He continues his dancing there. So he never cares for himself. He always try to motivate others with his service, and dedicated service I had observed from him. So many are there. So and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, as he says, the Vaishnavas died to live, and living to spread the holy name around. So like that, Prabhuji spread many of the and motivated others to personally and deity service ministry he was working, and he helped many persons and many devotees in serving the deity service. And we all are inspired by his grace. Pankajanghri Prabhu and Janivas Prabhu and Pankajanghri Prabhu are so merciful, so and grateful for all of us. So thank you for giving this opportunity. Please have my humble obeisances for giving this opportunity to glorify Pankajanghri Prabhu on the first tirobhav Tithi of Pankajanghri Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Balasubramanian Prabhu. May I now request Shachidulal Prabhu to glorify Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu, and I would like to inform Kurmagaur Prabhu, and is the devotee there now? No, I don't. And yes, Abhay Prabhu, that we had called your name. So if you can hear us now, one of you will be the next speaker. Over to you, Shachidulal Prabhu. You are muted.
Thank you very much, dear Prabhu. So yeah, although most of the devotees have shared the points, and I'm having not much different points, but I would like to reiterate and feel blessed doing so. Yeah, although he was the senior most devotee or one of the most senior most devotees in Mayapur, I had the fortune of being with him for around 5-6 years in the past. So we almost left the same time Mayapur. I just came a year ago to some other place, and I was having the fortune of attending hundreds of his lectures and being personally there in the Srimad Bhagavatam classes, seeing both of the brothers, the senior most devotees, so regular in their service, and it was quite inspiring. Like, I would like to imbibe from their example for the rest of my life, and I feel that it will be possible just by remembering their example. And it was such a impact. I mean, in Kali Yuga, we are so conditioned that we need example. Mahaprabhu came to show his example, the Harinam and everything. So if once you see a senior devotee like him in his 70s, and he is just listening even from those who are maybe even not of half of his age, so it just speaks volumes that the instruction was there from Prabhupada and he is just following that. So, and we hear ahituki apratihata bhakti is to be done. So be it flood, be it extreme heat, cold, whatever be the weather. So I've heard that even in floods, even there was snake and all, but he would just do his worship. Quite amazing, not to care for his life. It's not just like the doctor Sukhiji told that he was quite transcendental, willing to swim in Ganges back to Mayapur. He even showed it before also, his transcendental nature. I mean, not being afraid of his life. If you are to be in, like, there were some reptiles, poisonous reptiles in the temple, and he is willing to do his service. And it shows his dedication. And although in lectures he would say that we are all these bodies and we have all these urges like eating and all, but he was quite I felt that he is not at all like into like his meditation is not on the bodily demands. He was so easily approachable, like not so concerned about his eating or like that. If you know, the lectures used to go from 9 to 9:30 like that also. So it wasn't that he is awake, I don't know, from so long in the morning attending Mangal Aarti, and if I had some question or something I would like to speak to him, he would so kindly give me time even after 9 o'clock. And sometimes from MCS hall also, if he used to come back to the temple giving a lecture, he was willing to talk to me on the way, or just so relaxed, carefree, like Krishna, Balram, these brothers. They used to be like examples like of spiritual world people. So although a person like me may not be able to see everything in spiritual perspective, but these devotees, they show by their example how they are quite transcendental. And if we have to chant with faith and all that, we are not these bodies, we experience pleasure in Krishna service. So although we have faith in the process when we follow it ourselves, but when we see the examples like Jayapataka Maharaj and other senior devotees who are like, although even if the body may not be good, but their consciousness is quite elevated. So it just gives faith that if we may also, I mean, we all practitioners have to pass through these ages. If we go on, we have to pass through the old age and whatever the body is there. So we can be like them if we follow the process. If not exactly at as per their consciousness, but still we have hope in the process that we can transcend all the bodily designations and all the pains and pleasures that come along with it and be situated in bhakti. So if I were to speak about his lectures, it was very, very faith-giving, his words, example. So this is what I feel is a mercy of Krishna, although I'm not have too much attraction to the dham or deities, but through his devotee, Krishna has blessed all of us, a friend, philosopher, a guide. So like people is like we miss a family member, so it's just that kind of feeling, but being transcendental, so just by remembering him or listening to his lectures again or some, so just meditating was like Krishna, Arjuna missed Krishna, so by meditating on the instructions he could feel his presence. So similarly, I think through this session we have, at least for myself, I can feel that I could relive some of the time that I spent with him. And I thank everyone else for sharing their experiences, realizations. So, and I wish that by following in the footsteps of senior devotees like Pankajanghri Prabhu, I can also proceed further on this path. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chachidulal Prabhu. It was heartfelt, and your consciousness was very clear when you were speaking. So thank you very much for that. In case Kurma Gaura Prabhu, if you can hear me, may I kindly invite you now. We just have barely 19 minutes left. There are many homages and glorifications which have come in writing. Many devotees have sent them. So, but I do not think that we will have time for that. We'll have to close it at sharp 9 o'clock. So I'm inviting once again, if you are there, Kurma Prabhu, please.
I'm here, Prabhu, but I don't have anything. I just want to listen. Thank you very much.
Jai. That's fine. Abhay Prabhu, are you there? Abhay Prabhu, can I now invite you? If you can please kindly unmute yourself. Okay, so then I would invite Ravish Prabhu now, and followed by him would be Manoj Kumar Jha Prabhu to share the glorifications.
Namaskar, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I have no qualification to speak, but I've been seeing him doing puja and followed his coming to India for last 20 years or so. I found it very difficult to imagine that a person born in UK would be so devoted all his life, 50 years at a stretch, to do the pujari work in the service of God is very extraordinary, and shows that what one of the Prabhuji said, he was a Nitya Siddha. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Ravish Prabhu, for this short glorification of Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu. May I now invite Manoj Kumar Jha Prabhuji to share his realizations. Manoj Kumar Prabhu, can you hear us? Okay, so it seems that these devotees like Kurma Gaur Prabhu is here to listen, but Abhay Prabhu, we have been trying to reach out to him, but unfortunately we have not been able to. May I now request the organizer, the host who is there, Satyabhama Mataji, who is there by the name of Dhairya Bharti, to play one of the very memorable videos of Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu as perhaps an apt offering to end this program. Kindly give us a couple of minutes and we would upload that particular bhajan for all of you. Hare Krishna.
Je anilo premadana koruna prachu Je anilo premadana Karuna Prachu Heno Prabhu Kota Gila Acharjataku Heno Prabhu Kota Gila Ahamora Swarup Rupa Kahasanota Ahamora Swarup Rupa Kahasanota Kahadasa Raghunatha Patita Pava Juga Kaha Kavira Kahamura Juga Kaha Kavira Eka Kale Kota Gila Puranata Ra Eka Kale Kota Gila Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Pashaneku Tibo Mata Anale Pasiva Pashaneku Tibo Mata Anale Pasiva Gauranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Pavo Gauranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gele Pavo Sesha Basang Giro Sange Jai Koilo Bila Sangana paya kande naro domoda Sangana paya kande naro domoda Sangana paya kande naro domoda Coruna prachu Jayanilo prema donna Coruna prachu
So with this last bhajan, we would like to conclude this program, and we on this occasion pray to Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu to bless us all with wisdom that pushes each one of us towards Krishna's lotus feet, and the way he served Sridham Mayapur, the way he served the deities here, and the exemplary standards that he has set. May we try to follow in his footsteps and achieve that kind of a level, or at least take some few baby steps in that direction. For me personally, listening to all of you speak was a wonderful experience. I wish to let all you devotees know that hundreds of people had the opportunity today on the Facebook page of Mayapur TV, YouTube channel of Mayapur TV, and the Mayapur TV itself. On all the three channels, it was getting broadcasted. So over thousands of people have heard the glories of Sripad Pankajanghri Prabhu, and so much mercy was flowing. The realizations were deeper, personal, and they were very, very moving. We look forward to host this program on each tirobhav memorial, and we look forward to hear from you again and again this nectarian pastimes. Thank you so much for joining us. There are things which some homages are pending, but it is not possible to now read them out given the paucity of time which is there. We barely have 7 minutes to go, so I would end the program here. Thank you so very much. His Grace Pankajanghri Prabhu ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, ISKCON Mayapur ki jai, आप सभी भक्त वृंद की जय, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि, दंडवत प्रणाम।